In the winter of 1944, as the world burned, one man reached the height of his power, not with weapons or armies, but with chemistry. From the small Bavarian town of Alpkirchen came a man who sought purpose, and in finding it, became a monster. His name was Walter Weiss. His creation, a stimulant of impossible purity, became the unseen fuel of the Reich's war machine. They called him Der Alchemist von Alpkirchen. But who was the man who turned chemistry into destiny? We spoke to witnesses, sifted through what little remained, and followed the faint trail he left behind to piece together the rise and fall of Walter Weiss. He was born in 1891 in the Bavarian town of Alpkirchen. The son of a local watchmaker, he grew up in what was then a quiet provincial corner of the German Empire. School records describe him as intelligent and methodical, with a particular interest in mathematics and the natural sciences. Former classmates later recalled a boy who preferred the laboratory to the playground. When the war broke out in 1914, he was 23. Like many of his generation, he volunteered without hesitation, serving as a medic on the Western Front, where chemistry and death became indistinguishable. When the war ended, Walter Weiss came back a man who had seen what science could do when stripped of conscience. Disillusioned but fascinated, he began to wonder if chemistry possessed the power to destroy life so completely, might it not also be used to strengthen it, to sharpen, even perfect it? After the armistice, he studied chemistry in Munich, married his sweetheart Sibylle, and became a school teacher, shaping young minds in the quiet town of Alpkirchen. Life soon fell back into quiet order. To his neighbors, Walter Weiss was simply a teacher, precise, polite, unremarkable. But the war had left him restless. In 1931, a young apprentice joined him in the laboratory, Joseph Pinkman.
Herr Weiss barely spoke, but when he did, it was always about precision, about control. He said chemistry was the only thing that still made sense.
Joseph Pinkman had once been one of his students, clever, restless, always looking for shortcuts. Like many of his generation, Pinkman used stimulants to function, to fight exhaustion and the weight of those years.
We all used. Nobody talked about it, nobody thought it was a problem. You just took what you needed to get through the day.
Drawing on Pinkman's habits and his own knowledge of chemistry, Weiss began experimenting, refining pervitin, removing its impurities, searching for a version that was stronger, cleaner, almost elegant. Using his assistant as a test subject, he made a breakthrough, a crystalline compound of exceptional purity. Later, it would be known as Blaues Feuer, blue fire. He sent out small, unmarked samples to academic and industrial contacts, hoping for recognition. But outside the laboratory, the world was collapsing. The Great Depression had reached Alpkirchen. Salaries fell, shops closed, and his wife Sibylle had grown ill. The medicine cost more than he earned in a month. Then a visitor arrived from Hamburg, Dr. Gustav Fring, director of Fring Chemikalien GmbH. The company offered to sponsor his work with funding, materials, and full institutional backing.
Dr. Fring shook his hand, and that was it. The Faustian handshake. That was the day Herr Weiss stopped being a teacher and became whatever he became.
What followed was an arrangement. Fring would provide funding and materials. Weiss would provide results. The teacher and the industrialist, two men who understood that precision was power. During this time, the country was changing. Laboratories served policy, science served power, and somewhere in the middle of it all, Walter Weiss found his market. Within a year, the school laboratory had been replaced by a discreet research annex on the outskirts of town. officially an educational site, unofficially the birthplace of Blaus Feuer. With Fring Chemikalien providing resources, Walter Weiss's work advanced rapidly. Production scaled from beakers to barrels. When war returned to Europe in 1939, demand for Walter Weiss's discovery exploded. What had begun as a quiet experiment in Alpkirchen was suddenly indispensable. The army, the factories, the ministries all wanted it. As the enterprise grew, Walter Weiss began to rely on men who could think beyond the laboratory. Dr. Samuel Gutmann, an Austrian lawyer living in Switzerland, was one of them.
He didn't believe in anything. Not the war, not the Reich, not even money.
From Zurich, he handled the company's foreign accounts, securing patents, licenses, and the quiet movement of capital across borders. To some, he was simply a legal advisor. To Weiss, he was an insurance policy, a man who planned for what might come after the war. At home, security fell to Michael Ermentrout, once of the secret state police. His task was to keep the Alpkirchen facility sealed from view. Officially, he prevented espionage. Unofficially, he maintained silence. By 1940, demand had far outgrown Alpkirchen. Fring oversaw the expansion into industrial sites across the Reich, promoting Weiss's formula as nothing less than a miracle of endurance. But success rarely goes uncontested. In Berlin, industrialist Horst Sauerland, head of Sauerland Werke AG, had long supplied stimulants to the Wehrmacht. He considered himself untouchable until Fring's new product appeared, purer, stronger, and soon preferred.
They were both feeding the same machine, just trying to outdo each other.
By 1942, the competition had turned bitter. Bribed inspectors, sabotaged shipments, falsified purity reports. To the Reich, both men were patriots. To each other, they were contamination. On the evening of June 10, 1944, Dr. Gustav Fring and Horst Sauerland met inside the Sauerland Werke compound near Berlin, officially to resolve a dispute over military supply contracts. Minutes later, an explosion tore through the facility. Both men were killed instantly. The blast was attributed to Allied bombing, though no aircraft were recorded over the region that night.
When he heard, he didn't react. Not joy, not grief, just silence. Like a man who'd seen an equation solve itself.
In the chaos that followed, Weiss moved quickly. The factories of Fring Chemikalien and Sauerland Werke all became his. By summer's end, the entire supply chain answered to a single name, Walter Weiss. During this time, another man began to take notice. Heinrich Schroeder, his brother-in-law, a police investigator with quiet sympathies for the resistance, had started tracing reports of an unidentified stimulant circulating among Wehrmacht units. If this is what keeps them fighting, he wrote in his journal, then the war will never end. The more he learned, the closer the rumors drew to home. And in a country where law and loyalty had become the same thing, his questions quickly became dangerous ones. By the end of 1944, his inquiries had drawn the wrong kind of attention. One day, he was ordered to Munich for questioning. He never arrived. His car was found on a rural road outside Alpkirchen, burned beyond recognition. The file marked his death as an accident.
He meant well, you know, but people who meant well didn't last long.
By the spring of 1945, the Reich was collapsing. Factories burned, supply lines broke, and what remained of Blaus Feuer production scattered across southern Germany. Alpkirchen, once alive with freight and smoke, fell silent.
After Heinrich, I knew it was over. I just walked. Didn't know where I was going. They caught me near the border. POW camp. I never saw Herr Weiss again.
Witnesses recalled seeing Weiss only rarely in those months, a thin man in a black coat walking alone through the snow. When American forces entered Bavaria in April, the Alpkirchen facility was found abandoned. The records had been destroyed. the glassware buried in the fields behind the school. No trace of Walter Weiss was ever found.
Maybe Herr Weiss turned the gun on himself. Maybe he just kept walking south until no one asked his name. Either way, what he built outlived him. That was his triumph and his punishment.
In the years after the war, rumors spread. Some said Walter Weiss was seen in Argentina, older, thinner, using another name. Others believed he died in Bavaria before the Allies arrived. No proof was ever found. Joseph Pinkman was released from captivity in 1947. He later emigrated to America and lived quietly under a different name. Sibylle Weiss remained in Alpkirchen until her death. She always swore she knew nothing. Dr. Samuel Gutmann was last recorded in Switzerland. Beyond that, the trail ends, as if someone had chosen to erase it. Now, Alpkirchen is quiet again. The school still stands. And sometimes when the sun sets, the windows glow faintly blue.